How can you get good results from a free version of ChatGPT? It's a lot easier to get a good result from a paid version of ChatGPT or any other AI, because that's going to give you access to the most recent models. I had a question here though, saying, can the free versions of various AIs be prompted beyond their generic replies? The answer is yes, and the way we're going to do that is by using a prompt framework. So the one that I personally use and teach is the RISEN method, RISEN, which stands for Role, Instructions, Steps, End Goal, and Narrowing. I've done a couple of videos on these already if you want an in-depth look. They're the ones with a couple of million views. They went relatively viral, so if you sort by most views, you'll be able to find them. In general though, if you want to get a good result from an AI, you need to give it enough information for it to be able to complete what you want successfully. Garbage in, garbage out. So if you give a bad prompt, then you're going to get a bad response. We use a prompt framework like RISEN in order to make sure we are communicating all of the information required. We start with role. This is saying something like, you are a marketing expert, or you are a legal expert who is going to be helping me do such and such a job. We're telling the AI what exactly it's going to act as so that it can limit its response. AI can basically act in any role it wants. So by giving it a focus, we're going to move away from generic responses and go more towards the response that an expert in that particular field would give you. Next up are the instructions and the steps. Basically, we want to give a command to ChatGPT saying what we want and then the series of steps to get that done. Think of this as if you were talking to a human being and they didn't necessarily know how to do a task like make a paella, and you're going to give them a set of steps in order to allow them to follow through. If you don't do this, ChatGPT is going to go and create its own process for doing the task, and this makes it more likely to come out with a generic response. Then we move on to end goal. This is where we explicitly state to the AI what we actually want to see as the end goal. Too often we'll talk to an AI and it will give us a response and we'll think, that's no good, and then we'll just quit. A lot of the time though, we didn't actually give it an explicit statement of what we expected. What did we want? What did a good answer look like? What does a bad answer look like? Finally, we have narrowing. This is where we add constraints. Here you might give it, for example, some additional pointers on tone of voice. Do you want it to be formal or casual? Generally, we'll apply narrowing after we've got the first result from the AI in order to give it more instructions. If you follow all of these steps, RISEN, RISEN, you're going to get much less generic responses. Now you might be thinking, well, this seems like a lot of work. If I'm spending all this time putting together a prompt, can't I just, do the output myself? Yeah, I mean, you could. If it's a one-off task, then sure, you could do it yourself. However, once you have a well-constructed prompt, which can be used to create generic results from an AI, you can use it again and again and again and again. That prompt becomes an actual asset, which you can then reuse. So coming back to the initial